What's going on, everybody? It's Rev, and welcome back to another Dauntless video. So, as you may or may not know, I've been playing Dauntless since the closed alpha, or Founders Alpha, and ever since I started playing with the sword, I just really resonated with it, and it's easily my favorite weapon. And so today I want to share with you my top 5 tips for all you aspiring sword players. And my first tip right out the gate is Reactive hilt is absolutely bonkers. Reactive hilt is a mod for the sword that is unlocked at level 10 sword mastery, and once you acquire it, your DPS goes up significantly. The power that 100% crit comes with is almost a sleeper though, and so I think a lot of people undermine that. And even when I first started using the mod, I didn't think it was that good, and I also thought it operated in a different way. But this turns your rolling attacks into monster truck hitters. They're just massive hits, and if you start timing your unique effect procs with this 100% critical, you're gonna see the sword dealing ridiculous numbers at the late game. And so don't sleep on Reactive hilt. It is very strong, very effective, and is basically best in slot. And my second tip for you guys is probably the most important one, and that's to use all of your combos. The sword has some of the most deceptively simple playstyles in the game, but I can't tell you or stress enough that to become a very dominant sword player, you need to learn to use all your combos and when. And so I'm going to go over that with you guys. The bread and butter combo is going to be Rising Elements, or your heavy attack combo. By hitting 3 heavy attacks, you'll do the Rising Elements combo. That combo is your bread and butter. It's going to build you a lot of meter, it does a lot of damage, and it's not so slow that you're going to get hit. However, your best DPS combo is Triple Elements, which is the 3 light attacks and 2 heavy attack combo. That damage on that combo is very tail-ended, where the 2 heavy attacks deal a majority of that combo's damage, and so you really only want to use it when you have the opening to do so. And that also changes again when you go into overdrive. When you go into overdrive, which is your special state, and if you're using it, the best combo to use is Repeating Elements. And one thing that is another tip here is your stamina management, and so I'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. But just know, when you're in overdrive, your best combo is Repeating Elements. Speaking of elements, that brings us to tip number 3, which is the top elemental swords that I feel are at least the top in Dauntless, which is Boreas, Riftstalker, Nashor, Hellion, Valamir, Koshai, and Drask. All of these swords offer either a ton of damage or really nice utility and slots that allow your builds to just succeed and give you really nice stats at the end of a build. I have a ton of sword builds on my channel that are up to date, starting with my raw damage sword build. It's very strong. Koshai got moved to the Terra element, but that sword build works with a lot of these swords that I listed. So check that build out if you're interested. The elemental weaknesses have gotten more important lately in Dauntless, so keeping all of these swords up to date will benefit you immensely. Next up, I want to talk about stamina management with Repeating Elements and stamina management in general. And this tip kind of ties together with Reactive hilt and also using all of your combos. Stamina management with Repeating Elements, I want you to never run yourself out of stamina when using Repeating Elements. It's very easy to just mash on the button and look at all the numbers and just kind of get hypnotized and just go until you can't attack anymore. I highly recommend not doing that. I personally always leave 1 extra attack worth of stamina in my reserve so I can roll out if I need to. And almost 100% of the time, I'm going to be rolling into another heavy attack to get that critical hit from Reactive hilt. And from that, I can go into my bread and butter combo, which is Rising Elements, or I can take my time to roll away defensively and get my stamina back and go back in for another Repeating Elements combo. When you're out of stamina, you take a short reprieve, which means you're not going to be regenerating. You have to like catch your breath. And so you want to make it so that never happens, because that's a loss of DPS. Moving on to the fourth tip, I want to give you the best armor that I feel is the best almost in the game, but I will just keep it at the sword level, which is Hellion, Koshai, Karabak, and Rezakiri. You might not recognize any of these names, or you might recognize some, but out of all of those armor sets, Hellion is the most prominent in the game right now. Hellion is very, very strong. It transforms into a very strong late game set and is usable on every weapon in the game. So if you have one armor set that's like a staple, go for the Hellion set. The Karabak boots are particularly strong. Koshai's gloves, chest, and boots are very, very strong. And Rezakiri's helmet and gloves are very strong for the sword. Keeping these up to date, or just crafting them in general and farming for them, is going to be a very, very strong ally to any aspiring sword player. For my last tip, I want to just probably solidify something that you have been experiencing when playing the sword, and that's how ridiculously mobile it is. Capitalize on your mobility. When in overdrive, you are probably the most mobile weapon in the game, and it allows you to make very slight adjustments with your roll and your rolling light attack, but you can also make big, drastic gap closers with the overdrive dash ability, and that is done by going into overdrive by hitting your special button and then hitting your special button again. That will cause you to dash, and it's ridiculously effective at sticking to behemoths. And if you've watched any of my content previously, you'll know how much I stress uptime with any of the weapons. You don't need ridiculous builds. You don't need a lot of fancy armor or fully upgraded armor to beat these behemoths in sufficient amount of time, if you know how to dodge correctly and use all the tools in your belt effectively. And mobility is the biggest tool in the sword's belt. So get used to dodging. Use your rolling light attack a lot to maneuver yourself around the behemoth and come back and almost counterattack with the rolling light attack. If a behemoth is running away or an attack sends it across the map, dash after it and keep that uptime. I hope these tips help you in some way and hopefully give you something to work towards if you maybe don't have all the gear that I listed or haven't quite maxed out those weapons yet. But I was thinking really hard about what I was going to say or what my top tips would be, and I think honestly when it comes to Dauntless, half of it is preparation and half of it is knowledge. And then the execution comes with time. So knowing what to execute, what to build, and where your strengths are, I think that these tips will do you quite well. So thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, a like would be super appreciated. And if you want to see more Dauntless content like this, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications. If you would like to hunt some time or ask a question live, you can hit me up with a follow on Twitch to know when I do go live. And if you want to support the channel, you can use creator code RevvyRad in the Epic Games Store. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you on the Shattered Isles.